a 40-year-old goalkeeper, a nation of 525,000 people, and Spain, one of the most decorated football teams on the planet. The scoreboard at the end of that game read 0-0, and honestly, those two zeros told one of the most extraordinary human stories football has ever produced. But here's the thing. The real story didn't start in Atlanta in 2026. It started 40 years earlier in a registry office on a small Atlantic island, where a father tried to name his newborn son after a football legend and got rejected. That rejection, that small bureaucratic no, accidentally created a man whose entire life would become a story about defying the odds. And by the time this video is over, I think you'll see goalkeeping, and honestly, life itself, a little differently. Stay with me. Picture the island of São Vicente, Cape Verde. It's a volcanic island in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, warm and windswept, where the streets smell like salt and the kids play football in every open space they can find. Alleyways, courtyards, dusty patches of earth between buildings. Football isn't a hobby there. It's a language. It's 1986. The FIFA World Cup in Mexico is playing on televisions across the island, and a man named Pedro is watching with the kind of intensity only a true football believer can muster. Argentina are tearing through the tournament. Diego Maradona is doing things with a football that seem physically impossible. And alongside Maradona, a forward named Jorge Valdano is quietly scoring goals, pulling the strings, being brilliant in that elegant, understated way that only the most football-intelligent players can be. Pedro is captivated. He has a newborn son, and he makes a decision. His boy will be named Valdano, a tribute, a blessing, a piece of that World Cup magic carried forward into a new life. The registry office says no, foreign names, not permitted. That's the rule. Pedro stands there, probably frustrated, definitely determined, and he thinks. His eyes drift back, mentally, to that television screen. And there's another player lighting up the 1986 World Cup, a Brazilian fullback with an explosive right foot, a player who scored 2 stunning long-range goals in that tournament and became briefly, brilliantly famous. His name was Josimar, and that is the name Pedro gives his son. Now here's the thing most people miss about that moment. Pedro wasn't just picking a name. He was, without knowing it, placing a weight on his son's shoulders, a weight made of football history, of World Cup glory, of expectation baked into 6 syllables before the boy had even opened his eyes properly. How do you carry a name like that? How do you grow up being Josimar in a place where football is everything, knowing your father named you after a man who played on the world's biggest stage? You go out and you play. You play every single day. You play with older kids who push you around because you're small and young and you don't belong. Not yet. You get knocked down. You get frustrated. You storm off to your grandparents who raised you, who were your anchor, and they tease you and they call you Vozinha, little granny, because of how you sulk. And somehow, that nickname sticks harder than the name on your birth certificate, Vozinha. Think about that for a second. The kid who got teased, the kid who played where he wasn't supposed to belong yet, the kid whose name was itself a story of rejection and redirection. He becomes a goalkeeper. Now, goalkeeping is the strangest, most psychologically demanding position in football. Every other player on the pitch can make 10 mistakes and still be the hero. A goalkeeper makes 1 mistake and it costs everything. 1 lapse, 1 misjudgment. The net ripples and the crowd goes silent and it's on you. Just you. You have to be wired differently to embrace that. You have to actually want the weight of it. Vozinha wanted it. His career was not a straight line to glory. Look, it never is for the players who really earn it. He played in Cape Verde, then Angola, Moldova, Portugal, Cyprus, Slovakia. Half a dozen countries, half a dozen different languages, half a dozen cultures to adapt to. Club football grinds through you. Bad seasons, bad contracts, long bus journeys between unremarkable towns. There is nothing cinematic about most of a professional footballer's career. It's work. It's repetition. It's keeping yourself sharp when no one is watching. And through all of it, he kept turning up for Cape Verde. Since 2012. Nearly 90 international appearances. The second highest caps earner in his country's history. For a national team that until 2026 had never, not once, qualified for a FIFA World Cup. Imagine that. Imagine giving years of your life to something, representing your country at every Africa Cup of Nations, fighting through qualifiers, pouring everything in, and never getting to the biggest stage, and then, at 40 years old, You get there. June 2026, Atlanta, Georgia. Cape Verde versus Spain. Spain, the country that has won the World Cup. The country that invented tiki-taka and redefined what football could look like. Spain, with their technically perfect midfielders and forwards who can thread a ball through the eye of a needle. Cape Verde, 525,000 people, a country smaller than most cities, a team that almost nobody outside Africa had heard of. Spain attack. Vozinha saves. Spain attack again. Vozinha reads it, positions himself perfectly, commands his area with the calm authority of someone who has been doing this for 30 years because he literally has. Spain cross. Vozinha catches it, bravely, cleanly, 7 saves in total. Final score, 0-0. The world lost its mind. Social media went from a trickle to a flood, millions of new followers overnight. News channels across the globe scrambling to answer, "Who is this man?" And here's where the story closes its loop in the most beautiful way possible. After the match, Vozinha speaks to FIFA, and he doesn't talk about himself first. He gives a shout-out to Jorge Valdano and to Josimar, the 2 players who inspired his name. He traces the thread all the way back, a 1986 World Cup, a registry office, a rejected name, a compromise. And now, 40 years later, the boy born from that compromise is standing inside the 2026 World Cup, having just shut out Spain. FIFA tracked down Jorge Valdano and told him the story, and Valdano, visibly moved, said this: 40 years after playing at the 1986 World Cup, I'm playing vicariously at World Cup 2026 through Vozinha. I was confused at first. Why did his father think of me? He had Maradona right there, but I couldn't be more proud. That sentence. Sit with that. Honestly, there's a lesson buried in this story that has nothing to do with football. We spend so much of our lives trying to become the name we were given, the expectation, the label, the version of ourselves that someone else imagined. And sometimes the universe blocks that path. The registry office says no, the plan doesn't work out, the door closes, and we think that's failure. But what if that redirection is actually the story? What if the no is the beginning of something more specific, more yours, more real? Vozinha wasn't supposed to be named Josimar, and Josimar wasn't supposed to reach a World Cup at 40. And yet, here we are. The little boy who sulked to his grandparents. The goalkeeper who traveled to 6 countries to keep his career alive. The 40-year-old who stood between Spain and the goal and said, "Not today." He carried a name for 40 years. Then he made it mean something only he could make it mean. If there's one thing I want you to walk away with, it's this. Your story doesn't have to be the one that was planned for you. The detours, the rejections, the nicknames people gave you when they were teasing, none of that disqualifies you. Sometimes it's exactly the material you needed. Vozinha didn't get the fairy tale name his father wanted. He got something better. He got his own story. And so do you. Subscribe to the channel. Every week we bring you fascinating videos covering everything from hidden mysteries and shocking discoveries to incredible stories that will change the way you see the world. Don't miss out on the next one.